Welcome to the BrightWord Books Podcast, where authors come to life and stories go beyond the page. I'm your host, Chris Dabbs, and today's episode features a powerful and deeply personal conversation with Dr. Roger Avila, author of Before the Tsunami, a common-sense guide to avoid damages before, during, and after divorce. Divorce is more than just a legal event. It's emotional, financial, and sometimes devastating. In this episode, Dr. Avila shares hard-won insights from his own experience and from countless conversations with others navigating similar storms. His book isn't just a guide, it's a wake-up call for anyone contemplating marriage, facing separation, or surviving the aftermath. From co-parenting and court systems to emotional red flags and toxic legal tactics, we'll explore the truths that often go unspoken and the practical steps you can take to protect your mind, money, and relationships. So stay tuned for a candid, compassionate, and incredibly insightful conversation that just might shift the way you look at love, life, and resilience. So, Dr. Roger, welcome. How are you? Good to see you today.
Thank you. Thank you for welcoming me to your show.
Hey.
I'm doing okay.
Yeah, no, great. Of course, really interested to hear about this, your topic really about divorce, because, well, it does affect a lot of people, doesn't it, around the world?
Yeah, the numbers are skyrocketing. The society does not do anything. The legal system is not changing. So we need to teach younger generations of men and women how to navigate the process.
Yeah, right. So what compelled you then to write Before the Tsunami? Was there a personal breaking point maybe, or a moment of, I don't know, clarity that told you this story and guidance needed to be shared?
I actually wrote the books for my kids.
Oh, right.
For my two kids. Yes, I realized that younger generation of men need guidance, and they need to understand that the legal system is a slaughterhouse and it's not on their side. Right. So what compelled me is the need for guidance and to help mainly my kids. Because really in this process, you don't know how far you're going to go or how far someone is going to push you to the limit of breaking for many.
Well, no, exactly. It's very stressful. I've seen it. I've been through it firsthand, and I've seen it in my family. And, you know, it is tricky. And actually, it's a really good idea to write for your kids as well. So they've got some sort of idea as to what could happen, right? And how to avoid it. So, I mean, you're writing with a unique blend of, I guess, vulnerability, because it is about you, right? And the practicality as well, which is perfect. I mean, how did your own experience with divorce shape the tone and message of the book?
During the divorce process, I realized that you have to put aside feelings and emotions. At the end of the day, it's about money, assets, and kids. At the end of the day, when you find that final draw that you decide to break it up, fighting, talking, degrading, putting down does not take you anywhere. Just find as fast, as quick as possible a resolution, good or bad, but just find the end, because in the end, you are not going to benefit from it. And the law is designed to benefit everyone around the divorce process.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, you've described divorce as a personal storm, haven't you? And it's quite. I found one of the parts of your book where you mentioned how it's not just like a splitting up or just moving away from each other, but it's kind of like a destruction of a joint dream or a pathway into the future, and how that's now disappeared. So it's quite amazing that you're looking at it like that, because I that's how I felt. And so really what you're looking at is not only the legal, but the emotional and the deeply personal side of this as well. So what do you think then, for most people, is the most misunderstood emotional toll of divorce?
We forget that when we sign up for a marriage, we're giving ourselves to that person. And that person now depends on us mentally, spiritually, physically, financially. And I think we as society, we have the tendency to forget that we sign up for good or for worse. And then we take that person for granted, and we start, let's call it misbehaving. Let's call it acting in a way that is not honorable. And then I think a lot of times that's what happens, and people just forget that at one point in our lives, that person was the most important person in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's very wise. Yeah, exactly. So in the book, you're speaking honestly, truthfully, candidly about the myths that surround marriage and separation. In your research, then, what's one common misconception that surprised even you during your own process?
The worst is that society, the law, people, friends, family members think that men are indestructible, that we can take it all. And we have phrases in society like man up, pay up. And that's just not a way to treat a man. It's just simple. It's not a way to treat a man. We're human beings. We go through the burden of providing, the stresses of life, the losing the jobs, getting a new job, going out of the house to provide for everyone, including in-laws and parents, these kids, everybody. And they think we can just take it all, and we can't. Many of us can't, right? So it's a very important topic to understand the mental health of men, especially when they go through the process. I was actually talking to not a couple, actually, few homeless guys, and many of them, I would say 30 to 32% of them end up homeless because of the divorce issue, because of the divorce problem, right? So also drug addiction among that community is huge. And 30 to 40% of them ended up homeless and ended up doing drugs because of depression, because of sadness, because of upsets due to a divorce process.
Yeah, that's really sad, isn't it? I mean, this is the thing. We all, I think, at some stage probably think that, love is enough to sustain a marriage, right? But what emotional behavioral red flags have you seen in hindsight? Things that I guess jumped out at you that were warnings that you should have really, I guess, paid notice to. I'm interested in this because I'd like to know as well.
Yeah. So even though we're not talking about my divorce per se, but I can see red flags and I can see behaviors that are not that will tell you that it's not going to be a bright future or a long future with that person. Someone has daddy issues. Someone has history of, let's say, prostitution or OnlyFans, showing their body parts online, multiple partners. Anyone that goes through multiple partners in life does not have respect for themselves or for others. So those are huge red flags. And these days we try to normalize that. And we think that it's normal for a woman to have 20, 30 partners before she gets married. That woman has been imprinted by 20, 30 guys. And that woman is mentally and physically changed. The DNA of those 20, 30 men have imprinted that woman for the rest of her life. So that woman is not going to be as good, I'm sorry to say, as a woman who had one or two partners in her life.
No, it's all different, isn't it? Yeah. Well, okay. So bear those in mind then, listeners. I mean, and also, actually, you mentioned that the legal system, which you mentioned earlier on, can sometimes amplify conflict rather than resolve it, especially, I guess, those homeless guys as well. And, that's the same on this side of the water as well in the UK. There are lots of people who are homeless and have also been through divorce as well. So what should someone know about the reality of courts and lawyers before they step into that world?
Well, it is very important to understand that lawyers are there to make money. They need to provide for their family. They're not there to listen to you. The longer they spend listening to you, the more money they make. So the more emails they send, the more faxes they send, the more letters they send, the more arguments, the more problems you, your partner, or them themselves create, the more money they will bring to their own family, and they're going to have these amazing vacations because you are getting divorced. So you need to be aware that the legal system is broken because it's not there to solve your issue. It's for them to make more money.
And that's a funny point, because when I got divorced, my wife and I, we did it ourselves quite a while ago. Well, gosh, how long ago? Over 20 years ago, I think. But we did it ourselves. So, we went online and bought the paperwork and did all that. So we avoided going through the legal system, which is probably quite a good thing from what you're saying, because it would have cost us a fortune, right? And I think as well in your book, when you mention about people divorcing, but it doesn't always have to be adversarial, does it? That's the thing. But let's have a look at the thing that really causes the main problems from what I see, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but financial protection, right? You've really looked at this in your book. It's a recurring theme. So what practical advice do you offer for someone who may be, I guess, financially vulnerable in a marriage? And that could be either side of the marriage, right?
Is the thing is that it's like a secret that no one talks about. It is as simple as having a document called cohabitational agreement, where you set out from the beginning, from the middle of the divorce, from the middle of the marriage. You can introduce this document at any given time into the marriage contract, but no one talks about it. Called cohabitational agreement, and you set out who's going to keep the matrimonial home, how much that person is going to be richer at the end of the separation, when the separation happens, who's going to keep the kid. Everything is set out before. You don't need to go to court at the end of a divorce, at the end of a relationship. If you set it out at the beginning, before you get married, even while the time you're dating, they sign in front of the lawyer, and it's solved. The problem is easily solved because you put in writing, right? Two lawyers notarize it, I guess, and another one say, you know what, this is a legal process, this is legal, this is accepted by both parties. And then guess what? If the time comes, you just pull it and say, listen, remember, we both signed. You agree that you're not going to take 50%. You're only going to take 20%. Yes, you're going to keep the matrimonial home, and I'm going to see the kids 50% of the time. There's no argument. But for some reason, the legal system does not provide this information. I think a cohabitational agreement should be presented to people when they get married. That's it. The same day you get married, how about this? What's going to happen if you guys get divorced? Because if 56% of people get divorced, heterosexual couples, right, get divorced, why not set it up from the beginning? Why set it up in such a way that when they get divorced, there is an entire machinery of people making money, and governments and lawyers and accountants, and everyone is making money because these two people are getting divorced. I don't think that's fair. No. It needs to be set out from the beginning.
I like the idea of doing that at the beginning. If everyone did that and it was kind of mandated by law or whatever, that'd be good. I think, but I can't. I think it'd be really difficult, wouldn't it, for most people to bring that in later on, say 3 years into a marriage, and they bring that in. What do you think about that? Have you seen anyone that's been able to successfully navigate that?
No, but I heard of the pilot program they had in Holland at some point, where the marriage would last 5 years, and during the first 5 years, everything was fine, and at the end of the 5 years, if you want to renew the marriage contract, you will renew it or not. And if you don't even show up to renew it, the divorce it happened. That's it. You guys are separated. Right. So I don't know anyone who has done it like that. I know that it's very difficult because both parties get upset.
Yeah. Yeah.
But why getting upset? It's just a simple protection that you're adding to your financial enterprises, to everything that you're building. I know that people think that you're building together, but what happens if in the process you have been played? Yeah. You have been used, and you were with someone who was a good actor or actress that was really just there waiting for you to build up all these millions, and in the end say, you know what, now I have half of that.
Yeah.
So you need to be prepared. Younger generation of men and women, they need to be prepared because it's not, the way I see it, marriages are not going to last. It's a decline. Marriage is not a thing that, mainly guys, are not looking forward. They're not, because they see guys like me. They see guys like their parents, their uncles, and they say, why would I do that? Why would I lose half of everything in 10 years? Why did I work so hard? So there's no incentive these days for men, mainly men, to get married.
So you mean, yeah, it's quite a sort of cut and dry, logical step, that, isn't it? I mean, is that similar then, do you think, to a prenuptial agreement? Would that be the kind of same sort of thing or not? Or in Canada, I don't know if that's legal. You hear of it in the States, don't you?
Well, when you say the word prenuptial, that means that is before the nuptials. But really, before the nuptials, nothing matters, really. Nothing really matters, because that person is not entitled to whatever you made during that time, right? So let's say someone has a wedding today, and this guy makes $500,000 a year, and this woman, I'm just saying woman or man, I just want to say it this way. The guy makes $500,000 and the wife makes 50,000, right? So in 10 years, the family income was $550,000. That's the family income. Right. But then if the marriage is dissolved, now it's a divorce, now this $50,000 individual jumps to $275,000 because you have to split 550 divided by 2.
Right.
So this guy lost half of his income, and this woman increased her income exponentially. How is that even fair? Who determines this? Maybe the laws were determined and were written many years ago when women were not working, right? But what is funny now is that many universities in North America decided to take more women than men in the last 25, 30 years to make it more equal. Guess who's getting affected now? Women. Those women that became professionals and marry non-professional guys. So now their income, now a woman is making $500,000 as a doctor, as an engineer. Now this guy is making $80,000 a year. And it's happening now. I have actually talked to a few women who are actually paying alimony and child support to the gentleman in the thousands, paying $1,000 a month, $12,000 a month. And that happens for years and years and years. Is that fair? That's not fair. But society looked at it like these guys taking advantage of this woman. But what happened when it's the other way around? People don't say that when this woman is taking now half of this income. So it's kind of a hypocrisy, is why it has to be that way. So the law needs to change. We need to modify something. We need to fight back, because now we're letting the law decide on my income and what is like. So what happened with that man that now lost half of his income? This man can't really, when you take into consideration the taxes and all that, this guy can't really move on. And we're talking about someone who is keeping, let's say, $275,000. On top of that, they have to pay taxes on that. Now imagine it's the people with the low income. How is that guy going to survive? If someone makes between $50,000 and $75,000, that person is going to have to survive with about $800 a week. And if out of $800 a week, how much can you really? I don't know in the UK, but with $800 a week in Canada, you can't really leave. You can't. This is why they say that Toronto is a city for two-income families. Right. It has to be a two-income family. So it's hard, but we need to do something about it. We can just say that it's hard. We need to change the law. Otherwise, there will be no incentive for men to get married, and we will have an epidemic of women that are single, and they can't find men to get married.
Yeah.
And of course, there are many, many repercussions to that, right? Because those people that have, it's not better values, but they don't get divorced and they have multiple kids, those people are actually multiplying by the thousands every year, right? And they're growing, and their communities are growing and growing. And then other sectors of society, because they can't find partners, because the law is so hard on them, they decided not to have kids at all, or to have just one. Just in case they get divorced, it's only one child support. So we need to dive deep into these problems because we are creating a massive problem just by not changing the divorce law.
Yeah. So I see what you're saying. It's interesting, isn't it? Because I guess that the split of the income depends on the children, as you were just saying. So for couples with children, then, what do you believe is the single most important step to protect both their emotional and legal well-being during a divorce? So say they haven't actually put together a cohabitational agreement or a prenup or whatever else. What can they do during a divorce?
The first thing is to protect their mental health.
Mm-hmm.
You're not supposed to be talking bad, nothing against your partner. Try to make the time you spend with them all about them. Even if you don't have money, take them to a park. Yeah. Talk to them. Ask them, is there anything I can do to help you? What is going through your mind right now? Is there anything that I can do to clarify what's happening, why daddy and mommy are not together? You need to have a real conversation with your sons or daughters and tell them that you will be there for them. Of course, you're planning to be there for them because also many parents just walk out of a relationship, they leave every time, right? Mm. So in the legal aspect, try to be fair. Try to have them 50% of the time because you are 50% parents, right? Try to provide for 50% of everything they need, if you can. Try to be as fair as possible with the person you left behind with 2 or 3 kids.
Yeah. So it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, obviously diving into those challenges of co-parenting, it is tricky. It's a minefield, right? And so it is hard. So what are some of the common pitfalls? I mean, you've just mentioned some of the things to do to make it a positive experience or as much as possible. But what about some of the common problems? And, how can parents rise above those?
Weaponizing. They use kids as weapons to get more time, to get more money, lying about the other parents. I'm not saying that there are parents that are bad, that they have bad behaviors, but not all men are bad and not all women are bad. But the society and the law has been written in the past to destroy someone with a bad behavior. And all a woman or even a guy has to do is just call the law, police, and say that that person did so and so. And that person is already labeled. That's it, on the spot. We need to stop that too. We need to have proof of something happening. Right. One of my advices would be to seriously get a body cam. And if you know that you're gonna have a bad interaction, you know that your partner is not a good person, just get a body cam or just take your phone out of your pocket and record every interaction you have with that person because you never know what is going to be used against you.
Well, that's true. That's true, isn't it? Actually, you don't know whether the other party's doing it as well. So that's a really good point, and very 21st century as well, I think, isn't it? And talking of which, then, so social media plays a big role sometimes, and a dangerous role sometimes in modern divorce. Where people are saying, as you say, bad mouthing the other couple, also the other half of the couple, and things like that. So, what boundaries or practices do you suggest for those navigating divorce in this digital age in the 21st century?
I would say don't compare your family to the families that you see on Facebook. We have a phrase in Canada, don't compare yourself to the Johnsons or something like that, right? Don't think that they have it good just because they put it good online. Yeah. Don't compete. Just have your own life, have your own family. If you can't afford a cruise, you know what? Make a trip to the Niagara Falls. But yeah, try not to follow social media. A lot of things are inflated there and make to look good just for likes and views and things like that.
Yeah, exactly. It's all too easy, isn't it? To get that, what is it called? The fear of missing out kind of thing, where, your neighbors are doing so well with a new car and the cruises. Yeah, I see what you mean. So moving on from that then, you've used the term toxic tactics quite a lot, I think, and that stands out a lot in your writing. I mean, can you give us an example of one such tactic and how someone can protect themselves from it?
There's a tactic called the silver bullet.
Oh, yeah.
The silver bullet is basically designed to affect one of the partners, and so the person kind of like sets up stage for when that person shows up. They're gonna say or they're gonna do something that they know is going to create a reaction. And what they're gonna do immediately is to have the phone with them, and they're gonna record that reaction, right? So in my particular case, I was used to have lunch with my kids every day, and one day when I went to open the door of my house, the lock was changed, and there's a windows like, what happened to the lock? And then she had her phone with her, recording, and she says, "You're not allowed in this house anymore." I said, "This is my home. This is where I pay mortgage. I pay the bills. My kids are inside. I have to have the right to see my kids. Why are you taking that away from me?" And of course, as a man, as a real man, right? If someone does something like that to you, you react. Did I react badly? Yes, I kicked the door. But if you kick your own door in your own house, no one calls the police. Why would they call the police on you? Just because you kicked the door, it's your own door. You're going to fix your own door. If you break it, you're going to fix it, right? But between my ex and the lawyer, got together and they decided to do this because they know that I'm a real man and I'm going to react, right? Now, someone with experience or someone who knows about this silver bullet kind of like tactic, they would have never reacted because they say, "Whoa, I'm being set up." At that point, I didn't know I was being set up. And of course, if you see someone kicking the door of the house, imagine there's a poor woman inside with 2 kids, and now this guy's kicking the door to get in, even if it's just one kick. Now this guy's aggressive, right? So, and after that, they set out an affidavit, 45 pages long, to say how aggressive this guy is, what a danger. They're in danger. Be careful with this guy. So I had a restraining order for 2 months just over a kick of the door. And I didn't have access to my house ever again, but I needed to continue paying for mortgage. I needed to continue to pay for everything else. So I was set up basically to kick me out of my own house. How is that fair, right? But again, just over a kick, I needed to continue paying mortgage, all that. I lost access to my kids, right? But it was set up. It was a total setup.
Yeah, that's a big tactic, isn't it? Wow.
It's huge. And it's used all the time.
Oh, yeah, it's just awful. It really is awful to hear that. Yeah. Okay, I mean, you've spoken to loads of people affected by divorce, and so you also mentioned that there are some patterns. So what sort of patterns do you see in those who recover well? And I guess patterns in people who remain stuck in the turmoil of the divorce?
Well, anyone who start establishing positive actions in their life, right? Going to the gym, reading books like this book, right? Socializing with positive people, engaging in new hobbies, engaging in new activities. If you can afford travel, see other part of the world, see what other people eat. Just try to get your mind out of that situation in your life that we know it's not going to be forever. We know that you're going to get out of there. But at the beginning, it's really, really tough. And those who are stuck in the process is because they're going to drugs, alcohol, bad behavior, talk to toxic people. They go online. In the book, I have one of the chapters talk about the do's and don'ts in social media, and they start bashing the other one, and they start talking to people who went through nasty divorces, and then they start assuming that it's going to be as bad as theirs. Not every divorce is the same. Sadly, not every divorce is all good, But I think we can guide people, and this is why I think this is a good guide on how to navigate this process.
Yeah, well, exactly. Okay, so this is the whole thing, though, but how do people actually, I guess, work towards having a good divorce? What do people do in the people that you've spoken to?
I would say sit down, put your emotions aside, put your feelings aside. I said, how can we make this separation as amicable and as fair as possible? In the end, we know that it will be all about the kids, the assets, and the matrimonial home.
Mm.
Split that as fairly as possible. Do not get lawyers involved. Really, you don't need lawyers to get divorced. All you're going to do is bicker and fight and send in letters. What you're doing, you can do it yourself. You can sit down across the table, say, let's do this the best possible way. I used to love you a lot. I decided to have kids with you. Let's fix it the best possible way so you can move on honorably, right? So you can meet someone else. And I don't want to scar you for life. I don't want to hurt you. I don't want me to become a baggage, and I want you to become my baggage.
Mm.
Let's do it right, and that's it.
And there we are. Yeah, exactly. That's how it should be, I guess. So, often after divorce, people's personalities change, right? Or your view of yourself changes. Well, that can be positive, it can be negative, okay? But were there aspects of yourself that you had to rediscover or redefine after your divorce?
Well, I'm a doctor, right? And I consider myself very, very funny, very charming. So during the process, actually, that changed to the point that patient would walk out of my office. I would tell my manager, he's a different man. He doesn't even talk. He doesn't communicate well. The jokes are gone. He just come in, he says, how you doing? We're going to do this. See you later. Have a good day. Nothing else. The interactions change. The interaction changed with my coworkers, with my patients, with my family, with my kids. It's really hard to date. It's really hard to trust when you go through a process like this. I have been happily with someone for 7 years, and I think I found love, and I think it's possible to find love again. You have to filter, not flirt. You need to filter a lot, right? Go through red flags, go through history, go through bad behaviors. And this is why I tell guys, filter, don't flirt. Flirting is easy, filtering harder.
Mm. No, that's true, isn't it? Oh, gosh. Well, I'm glad that it's working out. And so that's good after that. Yeah.
I'm good. I'm very good.
Well, exactly. Especially, when you're writing the book, you had to basically go through all of those painful memories again. I mean, gosh. But what was the most emotionally challenging part of writing before the tsunami? And what helped you to get through that?
One very sad event that I had was when my youngest was 2 years old, and it's one of those weekends that you're supposed to go pick him up. So I showed up on time. I knocked on the door, said I'm going to pick up my kid. She didn't want to let him go, and she said, "Look what you have done to your family." So a guilt trip. It was huge, and we had an interaction. It was a negative exchange of words, and at 2 years old, actually grabbed my hand and grabbed her hand and put them together, right? That broke my heart. That broke her heart. And I left. I say, I'm sorry, I can't do this now. I'm sorry, I'll be back. If you want me to pick him up, send me a text. But right now, I can't do this.
Mm.
So like moments like that, I'm very sure that anyone that is going through the process or have gone through the process, they have multiple negative moments and interactions. So
yeah, well, exactly. It's not even in the I guess in the early waves of divorce either, is it? It can be all the way through and afterwards, clearly. But finally, Dr. Avila, we're running out of time, which is such a shame.
Really fun.
But someone listening right now, perhaps they're in the early waves of divorce. What's the most important piece of advice that you want them to take away from this conversation and your book?
Well, as I said before, I think people, I actually wrote some points just short because I knew this would come. So have a deep conversation, try to find a resolution, check if there's really a problem, because arguments are not problems, right? check negotiables and non-negotiables, right? Cheating is a non-negotiable for sure, but some people actually accept it and they move on after that. Try to fix it if possible. Go to therapy. Don't delay resolution, good or bad. Remember, the longer you wait, the more your partner is multiplying and the more you're splitting your financials. Don't involve others, and always, at all costs, protect your kids.
Yeah. Well, that's wow. Yeah, that's really good, because of course you can unpack all of those things at separate times, right? So, well, that is fantastic. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I mean, that wraps up this episode of the BrightWord Books podcast. A heartfelt thank you to you, Dr. Roger Avila, for joining us and for sharing such honest and valuable guidance through this book. So, Before the Tsunami is what it's called. And if today's conversation resonated with you, or if you know someone else who's walking through the storm of divorce, this book really is a must read. As you've heard, there are some proper tips and advice in here in this book. And it's not just fiction, it's actually from real life, okay? It's filled with real stories, practical strategies, and a common sense approach to helping you stand strong when everything else feels like it's falling apart. So grab your copy now on Amazon, and be sure to visit www.beforethetsunami.com to learn more about Dr. Avila's journey, resources, and upcoming projects. So until next time, keep reading, keep growing, and remember, your story matters. Dr. Avila, thank you very much for joining us, and it's been fascinating. Thank you.
My pleasure.
And hopefully speak again soon. Take care.
Okay.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.